Luke Dixon Write-Up and Presentation. So we're ready to present this Luke Dixon artist analysis. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some printouts of Luke Dixon's work. And also you're going to need your direct copy and your pastiche. So the two items that you were asked to draw during our lockdown. Next, you're going to need some coloured paper. Now, I've got some old file dividers here. That's the only coloured paper I've got, so that's what I'm going to use. Now I'm going to start laying out my printouts. I've cut them out. I'm just getting a feel for what the page is going to look like. This process is a really good thing to do. You're never going to settle on anything unless you experiment first. So I've cut some of the bits of coloured ring binder dividers and I'm laying them out and just getting a feel for what I like, you know, what's visually appealing. I've got a little bit of brown paper that I've cut into triangles and I am chopping and changing. I'm going to do quite a bit of this, but I think it's really important for you to see this process because I'm quite indecisive at this stage. But it's a really good process to show you so that you don't just settle for where things go. You know, you've got to make it work for you, make it visually work for you. So this is one design I've got. I've got different thicknesses of coloured strip paper. And now I'm deciding that I don't actually like that so much and I'm going to have another go. So I've got my pastiche on the right hand side. It's important to have it on the right hand side because the direct copy is your first try. So your second try should technically be better, shouldn't it? So let's put that on page 2. I'm now reducing the colour palette a bit more. I've taken that magenta colour off. I did not quite like that so much. And chopping and changing a bit with the images, the Luke Dixon images that I have available to me. And I think that's probably about as much as I did. And then I decided that was probably a little bit too complex. So here I go with design 3. And I'm putting some card behind. I like the little ring binders where they've got the holes. I think that's really cool. And I'm reducing and overlapping as well some of those Luke Dixon pictures. I've taken out the purple. I don't like the purple colour anymore and I'm just going for something a little bit more understated and I like this arrangement. So now it's time to stick down your paper cutouts and images. I'm going to say at this point that just because I'm doing it this way does not mean that everybody has to do it this way. This is just the way that I prefer to do it. I also recognise that Luke Dixon is quite a graphic style artist, so I kind of want a clean look to my page. I don't want to put lots of paint splats everywhere, really. I want to highlight my drawing, so I don't want to confuse things with lots of messy patterns. So you know how to glue things down. I think you do by now. And I'm just making sure that I've got my arrangement correct. It's time now to add some titles and annotations. I'm just tidying up my pages, I'm trimming off some of the offcuts, and now I've got some fonts and I'm going to carbon transfer my font onto the page. But first I've got to choose and decide which one I like best. So that's the one I want. Yes, there it is. And then I take a soft B grade pencil. It has to be 2B, 4B, 6B. And then I'm going to put some of that pencil, I'm going to colour the back of it in so that I've got carbon all over the reverse of the printout. I'm going to turn it over and then I'm going to position and secure it with some tape. So I don't want it to wobble around everywhere while I am transferring, so just a little bit of tape there. Next I'm going to need a HB pencil and it must be sharp. So now I'm going to go over the outline of that lettering. So it's a bit speeded up here for you, but you can get the gist. It will transfer onto your page, and then you want to go over with a fine liner, just going around the outline. Next, you're going to be filling in with a marker. And then that's a really cool and quick way to get your title page done. If you are going to draw by hand, freehand, you would need to draw 2 ruler lines and then sketch in the lettering by hand. Now it's time for those annotations, and we've got to look at how do we respond to Luke Dixon's work. One thing that you can do here is jot down some key words. If you look at his work, have a good think and then write down key words that you think describe his work. It's a real surefire way to make annotation easier. And then your aim is to get these words into your annotations. It's better than trying to write full sentences without any kind of idea about what kind of words are going to go in there. So if you write those key words down first, it makes the process much easier. So now it's time to start making some analysis on Luke Dixon. You have this handout here which is called Luke Dixon Artist Analysis, and in there are some questions that you need to answer in order to write your annotations. There's also a little bit of blurb called About Luke Dixon underneath there, where I've found some information for you to use in your annotations, because there's not a great deal of information about him on the internet. I'm going to answer my questions first in note form. I'm going to write them down in a notepad. I'm looking at the questions on the sheet and I'm making some notes about how best to answer them. So I'm talking about things like Luke Dixon being an artist based in the north. He went to Northumbria University. He specialised in printmaking. I'm talking about how his artworks are very illustrative and feature sharp lines and contours. I'm also thinking about that subject matter because he uses a lot of famous people in his artworks, and that helps him relate to probably a younger audience as well. Then about his media and materials, he uses inks and markers and fine liner pens. He sketches freehand first with a H pencil. I talk a little bit about what I feel about the work as well. I like the contemporary qualities. He's trying to make a connection with young artists, maybe using rappers as well as his influence. I'm looking closely as well at Luke Dixon's contours and his fine directional lines, which are his signature. His work is also very intricate and detailed, and I like the edgy contrast quality there. I talk about how I've selected images as well. I've selected images that show the high contrast and directional marks, and I like the expressions of the faces in the portraits, and I'm also making sure that I get in those keywords that I've written down on my piece of paper. That is really important. Writing annotations out like this can seem a little bit long-winded, but actually it does save you time in the long run, because if you formulate what you want to say, then you're going to get every bit of information required down onto your page. So the idea of this is to help everyone get good annotations. I do realise that some of you will be able to write directly onto your page, but I want to make sure that everybody knows how to do this. So the Luke Dixon write-up goes on page 1. I've got some space around my images where I can place and write that information. It's time now to evaluate your Luke Dixon drawings. And you will find on the second page of your help sheet, you've got some evaluation questions that are concerning your direct copy and your pastiche. And for your direct copy, ask you the question about the process that you use to get accuracy in this drawing. You use the grid. And also what went well in your drawing. For the pastiche, using a primary and secondary photograph, it's going to ask you about why did you choose the photograph? Is it a portrait? Is it a self-portrait? Who is it? What reason do you give for using that picture? Also, was it easy or difficult to work in the style of Luke Dixon? What problems did you encounter? Did you enjoy certain elements? And then also, what could you do next with this drawing? You could maybe scan and digitally edit and add colour. You could photocopy and add colour. You could redraw using coloured file liners and marker pens. Or you could copy small sections and experiment further. So some of those questions I'm answering in my annotations here. I then evaluate whether I felt that it was an easy process for me or not, or what kind of issues I had. My main issue was keeping my paper neat. Okay, now we're going to do the copy, the write-up onto the page, and this is where our presentation skills come to the fore. So I've got my Luke Dixon write-up, and that's going to go there. And I've also got my evaluation of my process, and that's going to go on the second page. Here I'm using a ruler to draw the writing guidelines. I'm measuring 1 centimetre marks and then drawing parallel lines with my pencil really lightly. And now I'm ready to copy the notes up in pencil. Why am I doing it in pencil? Well, just in case I make a mistake, and also I want to find out whether everything fits. I'm going to get better at this the more I do it. That's the idea. So I can fit all of those notes onto there. I'm very, very happy with that. And now I'm going to write the direct copy and pastiche notes on the lower part of the second page. I'm making those marks, 1 centimetre marks, and then joining up those lines, making them nice and parallel, because I know that if I draw freehand, then my writing is going to start wonking downwards. So that's why I'm using the ruler. And next, I can now go over in pen, in my best handwriting. So now I want to label my direct copy and pastiche. And I'm using the same process that I did before, where I've printed out a font and I'm going to just figure out where it looks best. I've made sure as well that I've not stuck down my artworks yet, because I want to make sure that that background, that my layout works before I actually stick my artwork down. I think I like that word there. I think I'm going to keep them vertical. So now I'm doing the same process again, tracing that lettering out, outlining it, and going over in solid marker. I'm doing that for the direct copy page and filling in. So now I'm happy, I can stick down those drawings. I'm pretty happy with that page. And next I've got to rub out those pencil marks because they are absolutely everywhere. And again on the second page. Just doing a bit of tidying up, and I think I'm happy. I'm done. I hope that you've enjoyed learning all about Luke Dixon, and that this video has been helpful for you in understanding how to present an artist analysis page.